Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this basket here. It's very, very simple, very easy to do, and it's quite a large basket as you can see. So all it is mainly, the bottom base is single crochet, and then the top is all single crochet, and this right here that you see these lines, it's just single crochet in the back loop to make a decorative edge on it. It also does have two handles. Right here's one, and then it has one on the other side. You can always leave those off if you want. One thing though you will need is some way to stiffen it. It's made with a heavyweight bulky 6 yarn, and the taller that you make it, it will tend to flop over. So some type of spray starch or fabric stiffener will make it stand right up. So that will work out great. It's quite large, so much yarn I got in there that you can see. I'm gonna set my camera down and I'm gonna give you a quick measurement here. I'd worked this up. It didn't take very long at all either. I had to use that yarn that I opened. I wanted it to use it so bad. So it stands about 7 inches tall, 7.5 inches tall, something like that. But you can make it taller if you wish, and crosswise it's about 17.5 to 18 inches across. Again, that's something else that I show you in the video that you can adjust. You can make it any size you want, as tall as you want. You'll leave the handles off if you want. Very easy. But remember, you will need to stiffen it at the end, so you know, some type of spray starch or something like that. Mine's not stiffened right now. All the yarn in it's holding it up, but it's super cool though, isn't it? I like it. So this is the yarn that I used to make this basket, what I have in here. It's from Lion Brand. It's Woolies Roving Stripes. It's a roving bulky 6 yarn. Super bulky 6. Now there are 58 yards per ball. Now this is a 20 wool, 80 acrylic blend. 58 yards per cake. I went through 4, and this was my 5th one. It's about 3/4 of the way full. So 4 1/4 cakes, or at 58 yards each. You don't have to use this yarn. You can use any bulky 6 yarn that you'd like. Now I used one of these big plastic. This is a S19mm crochet hook. It calls actually for a 15mm. I chose to use the 19. You can use the 19, or you can use 15mm, 17mm, whatever you have. It's one of those big hooks like that you can use. You don't have to use the exact same one. I wouldn't use one bigger than me. And if you do use a smaller hook, it might make it stand up a little bit better, but it's still going to be, you're still going to need to spray starch it. But anyways, enough of my yik-yakking. You want to get started on this? Here, I'll show you what it looks like without being sprayed. It just kind of, the top. I mean, it stands. It just doesn't stand that as well as you would want it to. So, see, it's easily movable. So, yes, I'll spray mine later today. And I'm going to use it in here to keep yarn and stuff in. Like it. I love it. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off with a slip knot on our hook. Like so. I'm using this big hook here. Now we're going to work a chain of 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to slip stitch into our first stitch to form a ring. So we're working on the base of our basket first. Like that. Okay. So we're going to chain 1, which will not count as a stitch. I want to work 6 single crochets through the center of my ring. Remember, this chain 1 does not count as anything. So we're going to go right through the ring and we're going to work 6 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3. You might have to slide them over as you go. 4, 5, and there's 6. Now you can pull that tail, close up that circle a little bit, and then later on we can sew it up better. Now we're going to need a stitch marker. I'm going to use a piece of yarn because we're going to be working in a continual round, which means we will not be ending our round with slip stitches as of yet anyways. So now we know where we end and where we begin. So we're going to jump over here to our first single our first single crochet, not that chain 1, the single crochet. And we're going to go into it. It might be kind of tight, but we want to work 2 single crochets into that stitch. So there's 1 and 2. And now we're going to work 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around. So there's 1 and 2, and then we'll go ahead and we'll jump to the next one and we'll work 2 single crochets into that one. So we're on round 2 right now. So it's 2 singles in every stitch until you get back to your stitch marker. I'll just go ahead and continue because I'm almost there now. Working with this big thick yarn goes by pretty fast. Okay, let's see. Okay, I've made it back to my stitch marker, and if you count back, should have a total of 12 single crochets. So we're going to move our stitch marker up and we'll go ahead and start round 3. So round 3 is going to be 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the next. One single crochet into the next stitch, and 2 single crochets into the next. And that is what we are going to repeat until we get back to our stitch marker for round 3. 1 single, 2 singles, 1 single, 2 singles, all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. Alright, I have made it back to my stitch marker at the end of round 3. Now your last stitch should have had 2 single crochets in it. Now we're going to move our stitch marker up and we're going to start round 4. Now round 4, the repeat is we're going to do 1 single crochet into the first or into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2, and then the next stitch we're going to go ahead and put 2 single crochets into that. And I apologize, you should have had 18 stitches at the end of round 3. And again, 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 2 single crochets into the next. And that's a repeat now for round 4. 1 single, 1 single, 2 singles, 1 single, 1 single, 2 singles, all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. Alright, made it to the end of round 4. You should have ended in 2 single crochets there. And now you will have a total of 24 stitches. So we're going to move our stitch marker up and we're going to begin round 5. And now we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets into the next. So that is the repeat now for round 5. 1 single crochet into the next 3. There's 1, 2, 3, and 2 into the next. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker and to the end of round 5. Alright, I've made it to my stitch marker to the end of round 5, 30 stitches now. I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker up and begin round 6, and I bet you can probably guess what it's going to be. 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2 singles into the next. So this is the repeat for round 6. 1 single into the next 4, and 2 into the next, and I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I make it back to the end of round 6. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 6, 36 stitches total. It's okay if your piece is starting to look kind of like pentagon shaped, I believe that is. 6-sided, not exactly round. That's fine, and that will disappear when we start building up the walls of our basket. So 36 stitches now at the end of round 6. I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker up, and I'm going to start round 7. So now I'm going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. And 2 single crochets into the next. So that is a repeat for round 7. 1 single crochet into the next 5, and then 2 single crochets into the next, all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 7, and now you will have a total of 42 stitches. And I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker up, and I'm going to start round 8. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of let you do the base on your own. We're just going to keep repeating the same pattern that we have been. So now for round 8, we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then 2 single crochets into the next. And then round 9 will be 1 single crochet into the next 7 stitches, and then 2 single crochets into the next. You will always have 6 more stitches at the end of every round than you did the previous round. So you can keep going for as large as you want in the same manner that we've been doing. It's really easy. And for as long, make it as big as this is the base of your basket, so you can keep going for as big of a basket as you want. I'm not sure how many rounds I'm going to do, but I'm going to keep going, and I'll let you know in just a second. Alright, so I have done a total of 11 rounds, and I have 66 stitches now. Now mine measures across about 14 inches. You can do it bigger, as big as you want. Make it big as this table, or you can make it small. You could have stopped, a long time ago. It's completely up to you, because this is a really easy pattern, and you make your basket how you choose. So I'm done with my base, and I'm on round 11 now. So I'm going to continue now, and now I'll be building up the sides. So I'm kind of going to work like this. So I'm at my stitch marker. There will be no more increasing once you get the size of your base down. So but we will continue to use the stitch marker. So now I am on round 12. What I'm going to do is 1 single crochet in every stitch, but I'm going to be working it in the back loop. So you can see that there's the loop closest to us. Each stitch has 2 loops. The loop closest to us is the front loop. The loop furthest away is the back loop. I'm going to just be going through the back loop only and working a single crochet. And I'm going to do that in every stitch around until I get back to my stitch marker. So for me, the size I'm making, if you're following along with me, we are always going to have 66 stitches now, you know, till we bring, while we're bringing up the walls of our basket. So I'm going to continue working around 12, one single crochet, back loop only, until I get back to my stitch marker. And what that does, it just kind of makes a little bit of a ridge there, just to separate the base from the basket itself. All right, I've come to my stitch marker at the end of round 12, 66 stitches still, if you're following along with me, and you can see that ridge there. That's going to be, the walls will start to take shape more the more rounds that you do. So round 13 and 14 are going, okay, round 13 starts the repeat rounds. 13, 14, and 15 are the repeat rounds. So we're going to go ahead and start round 13. And round 13 and 14 are actually the same. So we're going to go ahead and move our stitch marker up. And all it is one single crochet in every stitch. But this time we're going to go through both loops. So both loops. And we're going to work around. Oops, I don't want to lose my stitch marker. There we go. So I'm going to continue working around 13, and it's just one single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my starting point. We're back to my stitch marker. Remember, we're going through both loops, not just one. This actually works out pretty quickly. There we go. So there you can see it starting to stand up a bit. Right, I've made it to the end of round 13. And now I'm going, 66 stitches still. Now I'm going to start round 14. And round 14 is just a repeat of round 13. So I'm going to move my marker up and continue around and do another round of one single crochet in every stitch. So we're just repeating round 14 what we just did on round 13. One single in every stitch until we make it back to our stitch marker. Alrighty, I made it back around to the end of round 14. It's kind of starting to take basket shape. So round 14, I just finished it. 66 stitches is what I have now. So round 15, I'm going to move my stitch marker up, and what I'm going to do is do one single crochet in every stitch, but I'm going to do it in the back loop only to give it that ridge again, just for some decor, so it's just not plain single crochet up the whole basket. So it's one single, round 15 is one single crochet in every stitch, but we're working through the back loop only. I will give you a tip though, when you're working through the back loop, sometimes it wants to tend to stretch, especially when you're using a big hook like this. What I like to do is just kind of, I take my time on around like this and go through and then kind of hold that loop there with your thumb and your back finger, and then go through it. It doesn't make it stretch quite as much. I mean, it still stretches a bit, but not quite as bad if you hold it there, hold that loop there at the bottom with your thumb. Just a little tip. You don't have to take it as you will, but however you want. But I'm going to work around 15 is one single crochet in the back loop only until I get back to my stitch marker. And really, like I said, all this is doing is breaking up the monotonous of the just single crochets by adding a little ridge there just for something different. So I'll see you back at the stitch marker. All right, I made it back to my stitch marker at the end of round 15, 66 stitches total. I'm gonna move my stitch marker up, and now what I'm gonna do is repeat rounds 13, 14, and 15 until I get my basket a little taller. I am gonna put a couple handles on my basket. So it's just 13, 14, and 15. So it's 2 rounds of a regular single crochet and then 1 round of single crochet in the back loop. So it's really easy. So now right now on round 16, I'm just repeating round 13, which is 1 single crochet through both loops. So just keep repeating rounds 13, 14, and 15. I'm not quite sure how many rows I'm going to do. I don't think it's going to take too many to build up. It's building up quite quickly. But I'll let you know here in just a second how many I do, and then we can start our handles if you choose to put handles on yours. It's always optional, of course. It's your basket, not mine. But you can see there how we did that row in the back loop now, how I added that ridge there, just purely decor. All right, I'm going to keep going until I get taller to where I want to start my handles. Okay, if it's flopping, don't worry. That's what spray starch is for, and fabric stiffener. It's a heavyweight yarn. I knew that it would stand, but still probably need to be stiffened. So I have done 20 rows or rounds. I just finished my next round. Round 21 will be the back loop only, but I'm going to put my handles on now. So at this point, the height of mine is right at about 6 inches. You can see. If you want yours taller, before you put the handles on, because I will do a couple rows after the handles, that's up to you. But for the handle row, this would be round 21. So I'm back at my stitch marker. I'm going to go ahead and move it up. I'm going to be working in the back loop. Okay, we're still going to continue that back loop thing. I'm going to work in the back loop of the first 15 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Remember, back loop only. 1, 2. I'm going to go till I hit 15. All right, so I've done 15 in the back loop only. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. And then in the next one, I'm going to continue working in the back loop only over the next 30 stitches. So that would count as number 1, back loop only, at the next 30. There's 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I did my 30 stitches there in the back loop only, and again I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other handle. I'm going to chain 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then the next one, back loop only. And you should have 15 stitches that remain, so that would count as number 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I made it to the end of round 21, and I have 60 stitches now because we skipped those 3 and then 2 chain 5. So we're going to go ahead and move our stitch marker up for round 22, and we're going to work 1 single crochet through both loops until we get to that chain 5 space of our handle. So go ahead and continue working until you get to that chain 5 space. So it should be 15 stitches. Okay, so I'm at the chain spaces of the handle. What I'm going to do is just go through the chain space, and I'm going to work 4 single crochets. Not 5, we're going to work 4 through that chain space. Kind of wiggles around on you, and you can move those around a little bit. And then go ahead and continue with your first one over here, working around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to your next handle, which we will do the same. We'll work 4 single crochets through that chain 5 space. Just like this. So I'm going to continue around until I get to my next handle. Next handle, like I said, we'll do the same thing. 4 single crochets through the chain 5 space, and then we'll just continue around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get back to our marker. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 22. I'm going to move my marker up. And now you'll have 68 stitches because we did add 1 more stitch there on each of the handles. So instead of 66, you'll have 68. And now I'm going to go around again for round 23, I believe. And do the same thing. 1 single crochet through both loops in every stitch. And even every stitch of the handle. Remember, we did 4 single crochets through that handle. You just put 1 single crochet in each of those 4 stitches. So now it's just 1 single crochet in every stitch around, back to your starting point. Okay, now once you make it back around, that's all I'm going to do. You can continue to make yours taller if you wish. But I'm going to move that stitch marker out, and what I'm going to do is slip stitch into the next stitch. And then clip that off. And to hide the tail, I'm just going to use a regular crochet hook and weave it in and out. Now, as I mentioned, this is a heavy yarn, so I didn't expect it to stand straight up. I kind of figured that it would not. So you're gonna you can use some type of sprayed starch, some type of fabric stiffener. Hairspray works awesome to keep it stiff and how you want it. But any of that stuff you can find, you know, at your local Walmart or dollar store. I usually use hairspray a lot, but I do use fabric stiffener from time to time to keep the things straight and upright. But that's it. Once you get it all, your tails, this is how I sew in my tails with this big yarn, all sewed in and looking good and how you want it. Take it outside, set it up straight how you want it, and spray it. Like, you might have to put something inside of it to keep its shape while you spray it, but then give it a good spray, let it dry, and then it will stand up and you'll have a nice basket. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Here's the handles on it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram. Show me all the pics of everything you're making, pics of any new yarn you get, pics of anything cool you think I might like, flowers. I like to see other people's pics of anything they think I might like that I might be interested in. So, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button. Thanks everybody for watching. Hey, stay safe out there.